Hello, everyone. My name is Kenton Kvescu. I'm an ex-BCG consultant, an ex-Googler, and the founder of Rocketblocks, an online platform that helps candidates prepare for interviews. In today's Rocketblocks mock interview, we've got a cool operations case focused on a grocery business, and we've got two of our Rocketblocks experts sitting down. The interviewer is going to be played by Matthew. He is a ex-BCG consultant and a graduate of Duke's Fuqua School of Business. And the candidate is played by Dnaiela. She currently works at Google in strategy and operations. She's a former McKinsey intern, and she was a graduate of the Columbia Business School. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Hi, Danny. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's really a pleasure to have you here today.
Hello, Matthew. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm really excited to start this case.
Likewise. So by way of introduction, my name is Matthew Calvert. I was a consultant at BCG in Chicago for a couple of years, and I now work for Kairos Aerospace. We are a climate tech company and working still in Chicago.
Amazing, really great background. My name is Dani. I worked in a private equity firm in Brazil with healthcare, then did my summer doing my MBA at McKinsey. Received a full-time offer for them to join the New York office. However, decided to join the strategy and ops team at Google to work in growing our revenue in the advertising business.
Awesome. Well, really excited. Let's go ahead and jump right into the case.
Perfect.
So, Danny, after returning from a trade show, the CEO of a large grocery distribution center calls you, and he enthusiastically describes a new technology which could be used to automate part of his company's process. He asks whether you think this would be a good idea for his business. Now, knowing that CEO is a tech enthusiast who loves innovation for the novelty of it, you ponder the implications. How would you tackle this problem?
Perfect. I took some notes here just to recap what you said to make sure I understand correctly. So our client is a CEO of a large distribution grocery company, and he asked us to assess if it would be a good idea for them to invest in a new technology as part of his company process to implement that. It seems really exciting. I think might be a good opportunity for them to automatize some of the process, just for me to have a better understanding of our client business and also this new technology. Do you know how big they are? You mentioned that they were a large company.
Yeah. So they ship to roughly 50 grocery stores in the immediate area. And overall, they do about 1 million shipments per year.
Perfect. So it's 50 grocery store and they shipped around 1 million per year.
Yes.
It's a relevant size of a distribution grocery business. And in terms of this technology, this new technology, there is any investments that would be required for us in order to implement it?
Yeah. Now, when you say investments, what are you thinking about there?
Usually, I'm imagine that a distribution process, it's a 3 steps process. You start receiving the grocery that you bought from your suppliers. You go for holding and putting these inside of the warehouse, and then you get those groceries and package and ship them for your final clients that are supermarket. So I imagine that this new technology probably is going to automatize part of the process. Yeah. And I imagine that probably you would have an initial investment for acquiring a machine and probably a recurring investment or cost, to maintain and repair this.
Great. Well, you just did a really nice job of kind of walking me through how you're thinking through the steps of the process, as well as the one-time and the recurring costs. And both are spot on. So the cost to automate would be a one-time cost of $4 million, plus recurring costs for overhead, training, maintenance, and that's going to be about an additional $1 million per year.
Perfect. So we would have on one time 4 million investments and a recurring cost of additional 1 million. It seems to be very expensive and a high investment, but let me take a minute to think about how I would approach this problem, and I share with you.
Sounds great.
Perfect. Perfect. I put some thoughts here, and in order for us to decide if our client should invest or not in this new technology, I would assess three main things. The first would be the economics consideration. The second would be the product considerations, and the third would be potential risk. Inside of the first, that would be the economics considerations, I would assess three main things. First, what is our existing cost? So what is our current fixed cost? Probably a lot of it's rents, overhead, and salaries. Second, what is our variable costs right now? Probably a lot would be inventory cost, also shipping, I imagine. Second thing that I would assess inside the economics consideration would be, what is the incremental cost? You told me that we have these one-time initial investments and also ongoing variable cost of $1 million. The third that I would assess, it's what would be the net cost savings. So considering our cost today, our cost after implementing the technology plus the additional $1 million, what would be our net savings and the return on this investment? Inside the product considerations, I would look to two main things: the impact on the quality of our products and also the possibility of distributing other type of products. So these two things are qualitative things that are relevant for our decision. Finally, on the potential risks, I would assess two main things. The first would be stakeholder management. So what would be the impact of this new technology inside our relationship with suppliers, relationships with employees, because probably we need to fire some of them. And the second, what would be the implementation risks associated with? So are we needed to stop our production? There is any downturn associated with it that I would start to think about. So based on those three things, I would assess if our client should invest or not. I think a good way for us to start here is with the economics, because if economically it's not a good investment, I don't think we need to go deeper on product and risks.
Great. That sounds like a really good place to start, Danny. One question for you. You mentioned costs, but you didn't talk about revenue. Can you tell me a little bit why?
Yes. Of course, probably could have potential revenue synergies. For example, if we implement this technology, this could allow us to sell different products that we currently don't sell. But I imagine that my main hypothesis is that the main benefit of implementing this new technology is a cost synergy, cost reduction and cost savings. So that's why I didn't look deeper on revenue.
Yeah, that's right. And if you also think about it, the warehouses are going to be at the same capacity. It's not expanding their capacity. So we don't really think it's going to drive additional revenue. But I think cost is definitely the right place to look. Before we jump into it, you talked a little bit about the 3 steps of the process. And so we have receiving, holding and picking, and then shipping.
Yeah.
Could you walk me through what you think some of the potential costs are associated with each of those 3 phases?
Perfect. I assume that most of the variable costs are associated to this process. So I'm going to not assess the fixed costs right now in each of the steps. So looking to the variable cost, I think probably when we look to receiving, a lot of the cost is related to labor hour. So having the employees to take out the things from the truck and also put those groceries inside our distribution center. We also have probably costs associated to equipment, so maintenance of those equipments, and also storage of the inventory. So holding those inventories costs us some variable cost. The second would be on holding and picking. A lot of it probably would be equipment and labor, but also probably we have some raw material cost of packaging associated with. And the third would be shipping, that I imagine that most of it would be freight for shipping those groceries to our final clients.
Yep. I think those make sense. Great. Well, where would you like to start?
Yes, I would love to start by understanding what is the existing cost, as I mentioned on my framework, and then after that, go into what is the incremental cost associated with this technology to calculate the net savings. I don't know if you have any information about that.
Yeah, well, I have some information about the time it takes to do each of the processes. So let me go ahead and share an exhibit with you.
Perfect. Great. So I'm seeing your exhibit just for me to walk through it. So this shows the 3 steps process and how many hours it takes per week to do each of the pieces. So receiving, it takes 2,000 hours per week to do, holding and package 10,000 hours, and shipping 3,000 hours. So probably holding and package, it's where we spend most of our time, our cost also, and probably where is most of the bottleneck of this process, I would imagine. So with this information, I can calculate what is the cost per week in each of the steps of the process to understand where we could implement this new technology to save costs for a customer. So
yes.
Yeah, so for me to calculate the cost in each of the steps, I already have the hours per week. So I would just need to divide that by how many hours each of our employees work to have the total number of employees, and multiply that by what is the cost per week per each of the employee to have what would be our total cost per week.
Awesome.
Perfect. So do we have any information of how many hours each of our employees work per week?
Yep. I just want to say that was a really great observation about the majority of the time with the holding impact. It does seem like that's the area where we could really make the biggest impact. And to your questions, each employee works 40 hours per week.
Perfect.
And employee pay per hour is as follows. For receiving, it's $12 an hour. For holding and picking, it's $17 per hour. And for shipping, it's $14 per hour.
Perfect. So each employee works 40 hours a week. We have $12 for receiving, $17 for holding and packaging, and $14 for shipping.
That's correct. And I would love for you to calculate the total number of employees required in each function and the total annual cost of labor. And please use 52 weeks instead of 50 weeks.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start with the total number of employees, and then I go for the annual cost for all the 3 process. So for me to calculate the total number of employees, very easy. As I mentioned, I'm just going to get the number of hours and divide by the 40 hours per week that each of the employee works. So starting from the process 1 that is receiving, we have 2,000 hours. So divided by 40, we would have 50 employees. For holding and package, we have 10,000 hours. So divided by 4, it's 250. The final one is shipping, which is 3,000 hours per week, divided by 40, 75. So adding this up, 50 plus 250, 300 plus 75, we would have 375 employees in the entire process, which seems a lot, but also it's a large company, right? They do 1 million shipping, so it's not that much for for a company of this size. So after that, I'm going to calculate what is our total cost. To do the total cost, I know that it's 12 hours per week. So I can just multiply that by the total number of hours, and then I can have what is the total cost per week. So starting from receiving, I know that it's 2,000 hours per week. I know that it's 12 hours, $12 per week. So basically
$12 per hour. Yeah,
per hour, sorry.
That.
Yes, $12 per hour. Just multiplying that, we have 24,000 costs per week for process 1. For process 2, holding and packaging, 10,000 hours per week times 17, $170,000. And finally, shipping, $3,000 times 14, it's going to be $42,000. So adding all these up, 24,000 plus 170 plus 42, we are going to have $236,000 per week. As you mentioned, we have 52 weeks. So multiplying that 236,000 multiplied by 100, we have 23.6 million, and 236 multiplied by 4, we have 944,000. Adding those things up, we have 24.5 divided by 2, we have 12.2. So our total cost is going to be around $12.2 million.
That's correct.
Per year.
Yep, we have $12,272,000 per year in labor. That's correct.
Yes. So it seems to be a lot. So I would love to understand where, if we have information of where we are going to implement this new technology and how much this new technology is going to save us in terms of either hours or employees.
Definitely. So we do have some information on how it will change each of the 3 steps on an hourly basis.
Okay. Perfect. So based on this second information, in receiving, that is the first step, we won't be saving anything. It will be the same 2,000 hours. For holding and package, we would be reducing about like 47% of the amount of hours. And for shipping, we would be actually doubling. Instead of 3,000 hours, we would have 5,000 hours. It seems to be a lot in terms of shipping, but because we are saving on where most of our cost is, that it's in holding and package, these might generate for us a positive net savings. For me to confirm, I'm going to calculate. So I'm going to focus on calculating just the change that we're going to have, because I think it's going to be easier. So I know that the change from receiving, it's 0. So we would be saving anything. For the holding and package, I know that we're going to be reducing in 47.5%, because 5,250 divided by 10,000, it's going to be probably around 53. So if we minus that of 100, we'll be saving 47.5%. And for shipping, we would be saving 3,000 hours divided by 600, by the initial 3,000 hours. This is 100%. So we would be increasing our number of hours and consequentially our cost by 100% on shipping, and reducing in holding and package by 47.5%. So for me to calculate the total cost, I'm just going to multiply those percentages by the total cost that I had for each of those steps to see what is going to be the net savings. So,
Danny, before you jump into that, do you mind telling me what the number of employees that changes? You told me in a percent, but it would be helpful for me to contextualize just to think about how many additional or fewer employees we'll need.
Yes, I can also just multiply those percentages by the number of employees, because each of the employees work the same amount of hours, that it's 40 hours per week. So I know that for holding and package, we had 250 employees. So multiplying that by 47.5, we are going to have around 119 employees that we would reduce from our workforce. And for shipping, I know that we had 75 employees. If I increase in 100%, I will need to add 75 employees. So adding those things up, 119 minus 119 plus 75, we are going to have 44 minus 44 employees. So basically, we would reduce our entire workforce from 375 in 44 employees.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for that. And now you can go ahead and calculate what the cost savings would be on an annual basis from the automation.
Perfect. I'm just going to do the same process. However, I'm going to apply the percentage on the total cost. So for step 2, I know that we had 170,000 per week. So multiplying that by minus 47.5%, we're going to have something around 80.75 thousand, minus 80.75 thousand, because this will be a savings that we are going to have. For the third part of the process, that is shipping, I know that we had 42,000 per week as a cost. We are going to increase in 100%. So we're going to be at 42,000. So minus 80.75 thousand plus 42, we're going to have around 38.75 thousand minus, because this will be a saving for us. I'm going to multiply that by 52 to have our annual cost. And we are going to have 2.015 thousand as a total annual savings that we would have with this new technology.
Yep. So
around 2 million,
right,
basically, that the client would save with this new technology. I think looking back on this number, I think this seems to be a good opportunity, because we are saving 2 million. And as you mentioned, we would have 1 million, I think, recurring costs with this technology, which would lead us with like almost 1 million annual savings. So I think this could be a good opportunity for our client. I think the only thing that he might need to take in consideration is that we would be firing 44 employees in this process.
I think that's a really good point. Before we go any further, would you mind calculating a break even in years for this investment, so we have some way to figure out, how long this is going to take to pay us back?
Perfect. So for me to calculate the break even, basically just doing what would be the net savings divided by the one-time investments that we would need. This would give us the number of years that the client would need in order to pay back these investments.
Yeah.
I know that we had 2.015 thousand in savings for implementing the technology. So subtracting the 1 million incremental cost, we would be around 1.015 thousand. That is around 1 million in net savings. Dividing this by the 4 million that you mentioned, that it's the initial one-time investment, we would be approximately 3.9 years to get the payback of this initial investment. I think it looks, I don't know what is the client benchmark and also desired returns, but it's less than 5 years to return the investment. So for me, it seems to be a really good investment. Of course, we would need to take in consideration a couple of things that I didn't include. What is the capital, if the client has the capital required for this, if he's going to get like bank credit or loans to this. We also would need to take in consideration other opportunities that the client would have to invest to compare those returns, and also the cost of capital. We didn't take in consideration what is the cost of capital of the client.
Yeah, those are all really good points. One other thing to think about, if the CEO is so interested in new technologies, do you think there might be something over the course of the next 5 years that he might fall in love with and want to think about instead?
Yes, probably there is a lot of other technologies that he might think about it. Maybe something related to leveraging AI or like more advanced technology to automatize more of the process, or either including other products that could lead to new technologies, I would imagine.
Yeah, those are great points as well. So the CEO is about to call you to ask for your recommendation. Now, what would you say?
Yes, my recommendation for if we should invest or not in this new technology would be yes, I believe we should invest for 3 main reasons. So the first one, it would require us 3.9 years as the initial return, which seems to be a good return for us. And also to return the initial investment of $4 million. Second, we would be saving around $1 million of our cost every year by also reducing $2 million in our fixed costs and adding $1 million of additional cost of maintaining this new technology. And third, it will be a opportunity for us to automatize part of our process that it's holding and picking. And this would require us to work with like less employees. We would need to fire 44 employees from our current number of employees. I think as next steps here for us, it will be to assess the capital structure of our client, to understand how we would finance this opportunity, and also the impact in the product and also the stakeholders management.
Danny, that was great. Thank you so much for solving that problem for us.
Thank you, Matthew. It was great to do this case with you.
Hey everyone, it's Kenton Kavesky here, the founder of Rocketblocks. Thank you so much for watching this mock interview video. I hope you found it informative and helpful as you are getting ready to prepare for your own interviews and hopefully landing that job offer you are excited about. We have a ton of great content on the Rocketblocks channel coming out on a weekly basis, mock interviews, mini lessons, and chats with our Rocketblocks experts. So if you haven't subscribed yet already, please do so. There is a big red button below. And if you hit that, you'll get all of our content as soon as it comes out. Thanks for watching and have a great day.